Okay. All right, we're ready to get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is a workshop on the Fats, Oils, and Grease program, and it is being presented to you by the Miami-Dade County Department of Regulatory and Economic Resources, as well as the Department of Environmental Resources Management. My name is Tere Florin. I work in the Department of Regulatory and Economic Resources. We're going to dispense with the formality. It's RER. That's how we're known across the community, and that's how we'll be referring to the department today. First of all, before we get started, the county would like to offer its sincere thanks to the town of Cutler Bay. We were approached by the town, by town manager Ralph Casals, to bring this workshop to the community, and we are thrilled to do that. We understand that this is a very important program. We understand the impact of this program, and for us to be able to be here today with you to speak about it, you are going to be talking to technical experts here. If you have questions, this is really important to us. This is what it means to serve the community. So thank you, Cutler Bay. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you for all of your work these last weeks in setting this up. All these years after COVID, technology is still an issue, and the staff here has been great in working out every little glitch that's come up. So thank you. Can I get the next slide? It's not working. Okay, great. So we do have a couple of folks who are going to talk to you before we get started. So representing the town of Cutler Bay, I'd love to call up your manager, Ralph Casals.
Thank you, Teddy, and all the staff. I mean, it's great. When I woke up this morning, I'm like, wow, opening remarks for fat, old, and grease. I know. I'll be here all day. Sorry, guys. But on behalf of the mayor and town council, which I have Councilmember Lord here today. There you go. I think it's been long overdue. We also have some other representatives I'd like to recognize. Mia Devane from Mayor Caba's office. Bobby Joe Bracey from Commissioner Cohen-Higgins' office. And then I have some of my staff members, scattered throughout the room here, but I think it's very important. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces here. I think it's very important, particularly what's going on in Cutler Bay, right? I got to do the commercial plug. Folks, right behind us right there is the Southland Mall. It's going to be South Place City Center. It's a $1.5 billion economic impact it's going to have in the town. Some of the folks here, every other chair, have a nice little blue folder that has our perspectives, as well as all different items that are going on in South Place City Center there as well. And just, commercial plugged, Wild Wings is closing down, so there's a nice commercial opportunity there. So we're always looking for nice restaurants there, and it does have an existing grease trap. So I know. So, but with that, on behalf of the mayor and council, we're really excited. We just turned 20 years old this year, and it's great having these types of relationship. Seeing familiar faces like the Bill and Fisher, Ed Rojas, here in the audience. So on behalf of mayor and town council, welcome. I can't wait to get started. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, and before we officially start the workshop, we have another guest that I am very happy to call up. He is one of our colleagues representing Strive 305, a very important county program, Manny Sid.
Thank you, Teddy. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today because fog is such an important issue that touches all of our lives, right? If you go to a restaurant, anywhere you go, even at your homes, there's always fog being created. And one of the great things that's happening in Miami-Dade County is we're being national leaders on this topic in particular. So several things. If you're a small business owner and you need capital, we have an option currently where we help you with up to $75,000 worth of capital. All you need to have is 2 years of business here in Miami-Dade County, a 620 credit score, and we can help you with that. You can expand your grease trap, you can expand your business, you can scale your business, whatever it may be. But more importantly, what are we going to do with fog? And these are some really cool points a lot of folks don't know. The fog that is created at our restaurants, even in our homes, actually gets collected either through our WASD system, right? Our sewer system, our plumbing system that goes all the way down south, or it gets picked up by the haulers at your businesses. And these haulers go all the way down, not too far from here. We're opening up a brand new facility, and we're converting that fog into energy via biogas, which is really interesting. It showcases all these different uses. And we know that a lot of there's other types of fog that gets collected at restaurants that get recycled, right? And that's a completely different process. But as we look at different technologies, there's some challenges, and that we could talk about in a little bit with our Rashid from DERM and different folks in terms of what that consent agreement looks like. But what's really exciting is that through the mayor's leadership, the mayor brought back from Israel something called the MDIA, the Miami-Dade Innovation Authority, and we're about to put out a new challenge for small businesses, where we're going to look at the top technologies around the world for fog and see how we can implement that here in Miami-Dade County. But the challenge is, if we find these incredible innovations, which already exist, I mean, there's some that are really great that aerate grease traps, other ones pick up the grease and recycle it, and you can reuse it at your restaurants. But the challenge that we have in Miami-Dade County is that back in 2017, 2018, through the consent agreement that we had to sign with the federal government, it becomes very difficult to implement some of these technologies. But here's the great thing about it. You have folks at RER, at DERM, that are currently working to look at different amendments that we can go to the state and federal government to make those changes here in Miami-Dade County. So we're being productive. Think about it. We have money to help you reach your regulatory requirements. We're looking at the rules, right? Looking at those rules and seeing what we can package together to go to our federal partners and our state partners to allow different uses, right? If you're an acai bowl operator, if you're a smoothie shop, you shouldn't have to have the same rules as high grease producers, right? So that's something we're looking at. We already use some of the technology at the airport that is much more affordable, but the challenge is to make sure that works. We have to go through this consent agreement process and go to the federal government and the state government. And the reason why that happened is because we have to protect our environment. Our main economic development engine here in Miami-Dade County is our environment, and that's why you have folks that are sitting up here that are protecting our environment. And then the last one is that going back to that technology. Look, we have to be proactive in looking at that. So in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see some solicitations from MDIA looking at all the technologies around the world to try to see what we can do here in Miami-Dade County. But the reality is these folks to my left and right are doing a great job, because even here's one of the other great things that's happened. Now the environmental reviews for your permits for your grease traps are all integrated into one. Within one system, so you don't have to bounce back and forth. And we're working with our municipal partners, like cities like Cutler Bay, to make sure that those processes are integrated. So if you're a small business here in Cutler Bay, you shouldn't have to drive to Miami-Dade County and go back and forth for your permits. So we're looking at technologies from not only the moment that you submit your permit here in Cutler Bay and it gets transmitted to Miami-Dade County, but even the reviews happen virtually right here in your own building department with our county folks. So again, thank you to Cutler Bay, RER, DERM, everybody for putting this together. And I just wanted to reiterate, as you heard, we are covering every single base, from the funding opportunities to the new technologies to changing those regulations that is currently happening, and making sure that the permitting process is completely integrated. And that was one of the mayor's visions, is to have a local economy that works for every single person. And that promise is being fulfilled today. So thank you very much, and looking forward to this panel's discussion.
Thank you, Manny. Can I have the next slide? So just before we get started, I wanted to go over some housekeeping. As I mentioned, this is a hybrid workshop. We do have folks joining us via Zoom. So what we're going to do at the end of the presentation, we're going to open it up for a Q&A. We are going to answer the questions of those who are in person first. And then for those of you who are participating virtually, we're going to be taking some live questions. You may raise your hand at that time. I will call you in the order in which hands were raised. You may ask your question live. And then we also have the Q&A box open. You are welcome to just shoot us a text with your message, with your question. We do have staff available right now, live, answering questions as we go along. With that being said, It's my pleasure to call up my colleague at DERM, Rashid Istanbuli.
I'm not used to getting claps when they introduce somebody from Durham, but good morning. Thank you, Teddy. Good morning. And thank you again for joining us in Miami-Dade County's Fats, Oils, and Grease workshop. First, I know Teddy did an excellent job in thanking everybody, but I want to thank Teddy Florin for obviously emceeing and putting this whole event together for us. But I also want to thank some of the folks that you probably don't know that are doing a lot of these things, I guess, in the shadows or behind the scenes. Ariane Oliva, her team, Larissa Plox, and the Town of Cutler Bay's team has been, I'm looking back because I know they're back there somewhere. So they make the magic work here and get us here, and you can hear and see us, obviously, for this workshop. I also want to, I know he's not here, but Mayor Mirbach has always been a strong partner with the county. He makes us honestly feel like home. I was told today, how did you know how to get here so quick? I said, well, because we're always here. Obviously, you're seeing Ralph and the Councilwoman, so thank you guys for your strong partnership. Manny Sid, you're a hard act to follow. There you are. Yeah, you're a hard act to follow, man. You did it with no notes. That's very good. But it's great to have Manny Sid on the county team because a guy with a business insight, and for a guy like him to understand fog and be excited. There's only one other man that I knew that was very excited about fog, and that was the late, great Carlos Hernandez. And honestly, this program would not have been what it is today if it weren't for him. So thanks to you, Manny, and obviously Carlos. So let's go through the agenda. I kind of wanted to at least frame what we're going to be talking about today. I'm trying to be real cool and not use glasses, so I am reading this. So we're going to start with an update on the FOG program and the changes that actually Manny mentioned with respect to RER and DERM. We're going to obviously introduce our presentation staff, introduction to FOG, what it is with regards to RER permitting and plan review. We're going to go through that presentation, what compliance inspection looks like. I'm looking at this side of the room, and then obviously we'll end with some Q&A. We want to move this, right? Yeah. There you go. Thank you. So I'd like to start by echoing what everyone was saying now, that we're very happy, obviously, to be here. You guys are spending your time to be with us and obviously learn about fog management and obviously what it means for your small businesses. Let me give you a quick recap what's happened in this budget year. So as you have heard, we've got two departments now involved with fog. We've got RER and DERM. This budget year, Mayor Daniela Levine Cava took an important step to help streamline county efforts to protect our businesses, residents, and natural resources. And what she did was essentially recreate the Department of Environmental Resources Management, aka DERM. The reason she did this was really has helped strengthen the county's ability to serve you, the small businesses and residents, in meeting the programmatic needs. So obviously, as a standalone department, DERM is now able to focus more on water quality, the water you use in those small businesses, protect the water that we drink, and then obviously enjoy the family and friends and the natural resources that both Tere and Manny mentioned. So let's give you a rundown. What does RER do and what does DERM do? So it's very simple. Obviously, I'm going to try to use the least amount of words possible. So RER is essentially doing all the permitting and plan reviews. That also includes certificate of use reviews and the construction inspections for all those fog control devices. So when you come in as a small business and apply for either a construction permit or a certificate of use or the equivalent of in that municipality, RER is going to take care of all those things. Anything associated with the inspection or the installation of that fog device will be done by RER. What is different for food service establishments is that obviously once they construct, then you graduate into what we call an operating permit. That operating permit is referred to as a GDO or grease discharge operating permit. DERM handles that. So there's a construction life, RER, and then post-construction life is DERM. So DERM, and what I'm pointing over here is our compliance team. They're going to take care of those annual inspections, those routine inspections, and essentially all the paperwork and manifests associated with fog management and pumping out of those fog devices will be handled through DERM. Do we want to go to the next? No. Oh, yeah, it is working. Okay. So I do have some notes here. A lot of this stuff will be discussed, obviously, in our presentation, but I do want to add that why does it matter? Why does fog management matter? And I could give you the very long story, but I'm going to give you the short story. And essentially, yes, it is to protect the environment, but believe it or not, it's to protect our infrastructure. Fats, oils, and grease do not work well in our sewer pipes. They don't work well in our sewer pump stations. So what historically had happened is that when that fog gets into the system, into the sewer system, it becomes very costly. It's a costly maintenance issue. It's costly when they break in a form of a pipe burst in the middle of the road, down the, wherever it is that infrastructure is located, or the malfunctioning, which is probably the worst case scenario of either the pump station or down the line for a wastewater treatment plant. That impact is in the millions. And guess who ends up paying for that? Not only the commercial properties, because there is some back charging, not to go into that details, but when those pipes get cleaned, the small businesses, get back charged by the utilities. But on top of that, all of those costs are essentially run down to the customers. You as a resident, you as a commercial ratepayer, and we do all of these things to keep the rates down. And I say we as a holistic we, it's yes, water and sewer, but you have 15 other utilities throughout the county that try to keep those rates down, which obviously is a benefit to us as a county and as a resident. So that's really, at the end of the day, what we don't want. What we don't want is any pipe breaks, sanitary sewer overflows, and those overflows and the raw sewage getting into our natural environment. So this is why this program is specifically very important. So we're going to go into the presentations. I want to introduce actually a couple people that are going to be speaking today. We've got Christian Guerrero from RER. Verushka, sorry. Again, I'm not wearing my glasses. So I know Verushka's here. She's going to be also, she works with Christian's team. Carlos Lincheta, our head fog, I'm going to call you the head fog engineer for RER. And then we also have Erica and Vanessa that will be also going through the compliance components with you all. So with that said, Christian Guerrero, the microphone is all yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Rashid. So my name again is Christian Guerrero. I'm the Environmental Permitting Division Director. So I oversee not only the building permit process with the county, but also the certificate of use process, right? So there's different ways those applications come into the county. But if it's a building permit, it goes through our office. We do our review. If it involves a fog device, we review it for fog. If it comes in as a certificate of use, the same thing happens those applications get reviewed by us. So the first thing I wanted to discuss was the consent decree. So Manny said, brought up that point, which is, the history of the fog program is essentially occurred with the federal consent decree. So back in the early 90s, the county had significant issues with sanitary sewer overflows. Systems were backing up, pump stations were going out of compliance. So the federal government, the EPA, they stepped in and they sued Miami-Dade County to find a solution to these problems. So that agreement with the federal government established the fog program, and it also established all the maintenance reporting requirements that the county has to provide the EPA to make sure that the system doesn't get into trouble or doesn't run out of capacity. So the whole FOG program, its birth was through the federal consent decree back in the early 90s. And at that time, the main focus was on the operating permits, right? So we would issue these operating permits on an annual basis. We would inspect the sites, but we had no say or control over the types of devices that were being put in. So basically, we were just checking that there was a device, and pretty much that was it. There wasn't a lot of technical aspect of it. So that came later. So these are just pictures from the early 80s and 90s of what was happening in the county. These sanitary overflows eventually made it to Biscayne Bay, and obviously that was causing beaches to get closed, businesses to be out of be impacted, roads, and it just brought in a lot of problems throughout the county. So the utilities were, I guess, they weren't managing these problems the way they should be. So the consent decree established rules, operating times for these pump stations, and inspections and reporting to prevent this from occurring. So obviously, this is not what we want to see in Miami-Dade County. So a quick timeline of the consent decree. So it started in the early 90s, right? That was the first version of the consent decree. It established the FOG program, all the requirements for the utilities. And then later in 2013, we got a revised consent decree. So the federal government intervened again, and they felt that we need to do improvements to our FOG requirements, right? So that's where that agreement established a 5-year plan where the county had to propose legislation to regulate FOG, right? To make further improvements in the FOG system, to make sure that we didn't have this constant issue with blockages. So, fast forward, that second consent decree is 2013. Then 2 years later in 2015, the county starts drafting specification requirements, sizing requirements, system efficiency requirements for these grease interceptors. And that's where we started reviewing actual grease interceptors. Prior to this, we relied on the building departments to do that review. But as of 2015, the county started reviewing and requiring all these improvements to better calculate fog loading and system efficiency to make sure there's very little chance of it making to the sanitary sewer system. So back then, later on in 2018, it becomes the actual fog ordinance gets established. The consent decree or the federal government approves our plan for that 5-year plan. And that's, as of 2018, that's the current regulations that we have in place, right? So that is what sets the current requirements, our sizing, specifications, calculations, and all the requirements that you see today for fog systems. Some facts about the program. So we've had a lot of outreach over the years. So the ordinance got signed in 2018. Since then, we've had several public workshops, meetings to help customers, applicants navigate the process. So what is fog? So fog is animal, plant, fats, oils, and grease, right? So this is found mostly in meats, lard, cooking oil, plant-based materials. So that's really the issue that generates these problems. So mainly it's obviously in the food service industry where you're cooking or preparing meals. And eventually when you're doing your maintenance or cleaning, it makes it into the sanitary sewer system. So here's kind of like a description of what the problem is, right? So a lot of this fog, it's really the result of cleaning. So when you're cleaning, you're washing utensils, cleaning pots and pans, wiping down counters, mopping floors, all that material gets collected and it basically goes into the sanitary sewer system, creating this brown grease. And that's the real challenge that these devices are meant to capture, right? So, the comparable would be the human artery kind of, if you have cholesterol, it builds up in your arteries. If you don't treat it, eventually you get a blocked artery. That's pretty much what happens to the sanitary sewer system. You're going to get blockages if you don't do something about the problem. And here's just an overview of, how the system works, how the sanitary sewer system works. So the square there in orange is your building, right? So your facility that's operating or performing some kind of food service or food preparation. All the back of the house fixtures in that business needs to be tied into the grease interceptor. So your 3-compartment sinks, your hand sinks, your mop sinks, floor drains, everything in the back of the house needs to be routed to that grease interceptor, which is meant to capture the fog at the source, right? So it's not going to leave the business, it's going to be captured by the fog control device. If the fog makes it past that grease interceptor, that's where the problem starts. So, one of the pictures there, you see a sanitary sewer overflow. You see a manhole that's been clogged by the accumulation of fog over the years. And then there's a picture there, a pump station. Now, the problem with the pump stations is that they get damaged and they run out of capacity, right? So that pump station pushes that sewage all the way to the treatment plant. If something happens to the pump station, then you're going to get a sanitary overflow or a backup in the system, which was what we're trying to avoid. And even at the wastewater treatment plant, you're going to damage equipment. It's going to be harder, costlier to maintain the treatment equipment with fog in the sewer system. So the challenge is just to capture the fog before it creates this problem. And again, like Rashid was saying, this adds to operating costs for the utilities that eventually makes it to customers. This is an overview of the plan review process. So typically what we get is building permit plans, right? So we're gonna, in the case of Cutler Bay, you're gonna submit plans to your building official. They're gonna review it, do their trade reviews, electrical, plumbing, mechanical. Then they're gonna ask for a county approval. That's where we step in and we review those drawings. Now, those drawings are submitted to the county. We do the review. And then one of the reviews that you're going to get triggered is our fog review, right? So they're going to verify that you're sizing the system according to what you're proposing, number of seats, number of meals, and that you have, the required system being proposed. One of the things that our ordinance requires is when it's hydromechanical systems, they have to be 99.9% efficient, right? So that's a very high standard, but you're capturing the majority of the grease, which prevents the problems. So that's the building permit process. Once you've been approved by the county and the city, then you get issued your building permit. You start with your construction, and then it's time for your inspections, right? So you're going to get your building inspection, all your trade inspections. And one of the inspections that DERM does is the fog inspection. So that fog inspector is going to go out there. They're going to verify that the system that you're installed is the same that was proposed on the plans to make sure everything matches up. Once you pass all your inspections, you close your permit, and you're ready to operate your business. And that's where the business license process begins. And during the business license application process, that's when you're going to submit your business tax receipt application to the city. The city is going to ask you for our review, which is the environmental review for the business license. And at that point is where we're going to issue or require your operating permits, right? So your grease discharge operating permit applications can be taken in. The reviewer is going to verify that you passed all your fog inspections, that you have all those approvals, and then eventually approve your certificate of use. And then at that point, you're operating your business. Now, a minor note here, the approved systems have to be what we call FOG 2.0, which are the current standards that the county requires. Now, there is some grandfatherability for those older systems, but those systems have to have had an active an active GDO permit, right? So that's one of the issues that, the challenges that folks face is sometimes these businesses come in and they've had a grease discharge operating permit that's been expired for more than a year. And at that point, you lose your grandfatherability. So some of the challenges. So some of the common disapprovals are obviously not having an application for your business license, not having a grease discharge permit active. The business failed to renew the operating permit, or if the space has been vacant for many years, and again, you've lost that grandfatherability. So it's important to maintain your permits active and making sure that the system is being maintained, because sometimes the systems just break down because there's no maintenance, right? You're supposed to pump out these systems frequently. There's a certain time frame that you're required to pump them out. So maintenance is key to keeping the systems, the fog control systems working. This is what we call their fog disclosure statement. So in 2023, one of the things that the county required was for landlords and folks that rent space to businesses to have a fog, what we call a fog disclosure statement. And that makes the leasee aware of the fact that this location has a fog generator, right? So it kind of gives you the heads up, hey, this business or this facility has a grease interceptor. So just, do your due diligence, make sure that whatever system you're going to be tying into has the capacity. But this just makes you aware of there being a fog system on the property. And this is just an example of the fog disclosure statement. So now we're going to go over the actual plan review process and the certificate of use process, what's required. So my colleague, Carlos Lincheta, he's one of our senior engineers in the fog department. He's been with the program since its infancy, since the beginning. So he's very well versed in all the fog requirements. So I'd like to introduce Carlos Lincheta.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Lincheta. I'm one of the engineers, one of the reviewers of the group of 5. My colleagues, maybe some of you have seen in the reviews the names of Victor Cabrera, John Garcia, Gabriel Pan, and Rodolfo Espinosa. We are a group of 5 that take care of the reviews involving flat soil and grease. So for the submittal of plans, everybody should be aware that all the submittals should be done now via the county portal and entering all the information required for the flat soil and grease requirements. We recommend for those applicants, engineers, designers, even operators, to get familiar with the current regulations. Like checklist that is online, or not online, not anymore. It is but it's available to upon request to the email in the screen, emvplanreview@miamidade.gov. That checklist helps the designers to take care of all the aspects required on the design. There is a device design guidance manual, also with examples and some specifics of equipment that is required. There is a list of interceptors approved in Miami-Dade County. This is the list. For example, the one in the screen is for the 99% efficient hydromechanical systems. This list increases at least twice, 3 times a year. So you can request for the copy. Also for the gravity type green interceptors are regulated by the Department of Environmental Protection. There is also a link online. This is a live link where you can check if the gravity system being proposed is accepted, is registered, has a designated approval number by the Department of Environmental Protection. Submittal on the county portal. This is the link for the portal. You can find there. You have to select before when you land on the portal. You have to select what is the option that you're gonna be using. In this case, for plans, it have to be building permits. In that option, you can enter all the plans. You can submit all the plans, all the information. You can check the status once you have the process assigned. You can check the status at any time in the same portal. You don't need to sign in or anything. You can go just to the portal and entering the information. You can get how it is going, the review. When we do the review for plan, we have in our department, after a 3rd review, we need to meet with the engineer of records. It is very important to meet with the engineer of records beside of the business owner, applicant, permit runner. the engineer record must be present because it's going to be the person with the mayor authority on those plans, they're responsible for that design. So in the third round of this approval, we must meet with the engineer records. We have an option to request the meeting via Meet-Q, but in case that we have a dedicated day for the meetings, which is on Thursdays at this time. But let's say that you have a disapproval on a Thursday afternoon and you have to meet, you don't have to wait all the other week to meet with the designer. You can send an email to the reviewer assigned and try to schedule a meeting at an earlier date if necessary. We encouraged this because we are also interested in get the plans and every process approved as quick as possible. We don't want delays. We want to approve it. Our goal is to approve the plans on 1 business day nowadays because of the workload that we have and the amount of difficulties and incomplete information that we receive. That the workload is really heavy. Okay. For the certificate of use, same thing. You just have to select the proper location on the portal. For certificate of use, have the information prepared. There is a guidance in the portal, so you can find how to do that submittal. But before doing that submittal, it is important to have all to know what are you going to be doing, because there are some options that depending on the case of the certificate of use that you're applying for, you need to know what you need, what is going to be requested from our side. There is a matrix that we use. It's also available upon request via email. So depending on what case you have, is going to be the number of documents that we're going to be requesting. As Christian was saying, the common cases is like a restaurant changing the owner, not changing the use, not changing the number of seats, not changing the area. It's pretty straightforward. If the permit was active in the last year, we just request a couple of documents, and that's pretty quick. But then if you have some changes, because maybe the new owner wants to do some changes, then that could trigger additional documents required. If the permit was active more than a month, for more than a year, then again, that pretty sure it's going to be requiring plans. If it's a facility that had a grease interceptor but never had a permit, then plans are also required, and there are some specific requirements that need to be considered. And if it's a new facility, like a new construction, then we request for what we call the green card, the approval of the construction, and the permit application. This is the link to the DERM public records, where every person can check and verify what is the latest information on the facility in question. They can check if it was a restaurant, what was the last time they had a plan, what type of system do they have, so you can get valuable information in this place. Again, you can check the status of the reviews at any time by visiting the portal and entering the process number. This is one of the examples of the most common submitted that we receive, which is that changing ownership without having an expired permit, or the permit expired just 12 months ago, a year ago, or if there is an increases, changes will trigger for sure planning. Depending on the type of interceptor, you can be requested to have a condition assessment of. There are 2 types of interceptors. A typical facility, there is something new that we incorporated recently, which is the amenities in the residential buildings. So far, in places like in daycares, break rooms for employees, and residential buildings or commercial buildings with an amenity area and only have one single sink, they do not require to have a grease interceptor. Those are not required. These amenity areas were recently added to our consideration when requesting a system or not. Okay, you can have during the process, if you need to contact any group for a special assistant, you can have the emails there in your screen so you can contact them. This is a killing for us as reviewers, which is the number of mistakes that we find during our reviews and delays a lot our reviews. This is in CU, but it also happens in plans too. When you receive, we always say that when you receive a comment from any of us, or you receive 3 comments, please do not respond one at a time, one each time. Just try to collect all the information, try to address all the comments at the same time. Because if you receive, I don't know, a permit application, condition assessment, and municipal application, don't do it one by one. Try to collect all the information submitted at once. Why? Because of the time that we have, the amount of work that we have, take us maybe 6-10 days to do a review. And when we get there, we just find that there is only one comment addressed and the other 2 are still pending. What's going to happen is that you lost already 10 days. You're going to be rejected. You're going to take another time to find that information, and it's going to take maybe another 10 days after you submit. So maybe something that you can do, if you collect all the data at once and submit it at once, we can do just one round of reviews. This is some of the mistakes that we found: incomplete information, inconsistent information, lack of data. The use, for example, this is a screenshot of the GDO permit application form. We need to make sure that what is going to be the use. We receive in many cases, we receive this in blank. We cannot process it. We've received no number of seeds, no information about the green interceptor, or incomplete or incorrect information about the green interceptor. That's a no, we cannot approve it like that. Again, this is a condition, the 2 type of condition assessment reports. The holder or the company certifying this document must be aware of which type of green interceptor you have. They are certified people, so they should know what do you have. But believe it or not, we receive some of this documents in the wrong form. Again, we cannot accept that they're different. The liquid waste transported permit number from DERM. If you have a hauler cleaning the grease trap, please make sure that they should have a copy of their permit with them in the truck. So check that the permit is valid and that the number, the LW number is correct and it matches the information that they give you on the condition assessment report. Consistency is important. This is a copy of the paper fog waste manifest that we verify. For example, the number of the ticket with the disposal facility ticket that when they go to the plant to dispose, it had to match. Again, the date also is something that kills us. This is a screenshot of the electronic waste manifest. We encourage every hauler to use this one, even when it's mandatory. But if we received a copy of this one and the condition assessment report, it's easier for them and for us. The type of interceptor, they're different. This is the one for hydromechanical, and this is the one for the gravity. So they're different. We receive, believe it or not, the 2 types, even when it's the incorrect form on the submittal. I insist, and for those who submit application for those permit runners, to try to collect all the paperwork, because constantly we receive this separation of the documentation, and takes the extra time. And again, our goal is to do it as quick as possible for the beneficial of you, the owner, the operator, the applicant, and also for us. And now we're gonna pass to the flow control system group supervisor, Ms. Verushka Lopez, professional engineer. Thank you so much.
Everybody. Morning, my name is Verushka Morer Lopez, and I'm the supervisor for the Fat Oil and Grease program for RER. Today, Mr. Lincheta walked through to the process of the plans review and the certificate of use, and I'm going to navigate with you the construction inspection process. The construction inspections. Why do you need the construction inspection? Because the RER environmental permitting approval is required prior to your plumbing approval. What do we do during these construction inspections? We verify that the installation of the fat, oil, and grease control systems was done as per the approved plans that we reviewed at the RER team. In other words, we're just looking for matching. We're looking that the devices that were installed are matching with our approved plans. If that is the case, we're going to issue a green card. When that is not the case, if the system that was installed was not the one that we reviewed on plans, we're going to issue a red card. That red card in the comments is going to tell you the reasoning why we are disapproving this inspection. If the reason of the disapproval is because the installation doesn't match the plans, you may revise your plans to show what was installed, or you may install what it was approved on plans. Also, we can issue a yellow card. The yellow card is because we have pending the dye test. That is one of the activities that the inspector performs on site. So if the installation of the devices matches with the plans, but your plumbing features are not already installed, we are going to issue a yellow card, and then you need to call us back for a second inspection in order to perform the dye test and issue the green card. How to request a construction inspection. Also, our construction inspections are only for facilities located within municipalities. In order to schedule an inspection, you need to send an email to ifog2@miamidade.gov. In that email, you need to include the facility address, the process number, the permit number, contact name and phone number, and also you need to include a construction inspection request. That construction inspection request form is provided by us. You can send us an email to emvplansreview@miamidade.gov, and we can share that form with you. Also, if you send the email to ifog2, we can also send you the inspection request, and with that inspection request, we can proceed with the scheduling of the inspection. Right now, we have a period we're scheduling inspection between 24 and 48 hours. So right now we have a full team working together in order to provide the best service. What do we have to do? What do you need to have ready for the inspection? You need to make sure that the plans approved by RER environmental permitting and plumbing sections are on site. Also, you need to confirm that the installation matches the plans, and you need to make sure that all the features were already installed, connected, and accessible. The installation must match the plans. What that means? That the solid separators, the grease interceptors, the sampling ports, all the devices that were shown on plans must be installed on site. The labels shall be in all the devices. You must have already installed the monitoring devices. The location of the system must match what was approved on plans. The plumbing features must be connected and must be accessible. If you can see in this picture, this is a type of inspection that we perform. It's a photo of the inspection that we were able to check that the devices were installed correctly, but the plumbing features were not ready. So in this case, we issued a yellow card in order to the customer be able to fill in the area and close the installation, but then the inspector went again to perform the second inspection in order to provide the green card. Now we're going to DERM team.
Good morning. My name is Vanessa. I am one of the supervisors for our FOG team, interning for our compliance section. So, going over this entire process, as we've started from start to finish, now we're here. You now have a GDO permit. Exactly what this is a document that regulates and has a list of conditions, outline and explain to you exactly what we're looking for now that you have gone through the entire review process, the CU process. This is a permit required for the non-residential facilities that are discharging into our sanitary sewer systems, as well as those who are on septic. However, they are located in the wellfield protected area. So what do we do? There's different types of inspections that can take place where you can see us, our inspectors in your neighborhood. We do compliance inspections. Exactly what that says is what we do. Your permit has a list of conditions that you have agreed to that you must comply with. We do complaints. Someone sees something, you say something, it somehow follows on our desk, and our inspectors follows through to ensure what's going on and to see what's being impacted. And we also investigate blockages. As you have heard throughout the entire presentation, same way as you have to treat your arteries, we have to treat the sewer system. So when there are blockages, what is below eventually comes up. So we try to investigate, see who's contributing to this, what's going on, and ultimately try to get to the bottom of it. So some of the few things on your permit that you need to look out for is it needs to be posted. Same way you need to have your documents posted for your facility, your GDO permit needs to be posted. They are not transferable. So because a new owner is taking over who had an active permit, I'm just going to slide my way in. This is now my permit. That is not, you cannot do that. You have to go through the CU process as outlined before. They have to be renewed every single year. You have to renew and certify that this is my name, this is my business, and this is who I'm showing up as every single year. Now, the address. You have said that this is who I am and this is my location has to match at all times. If you expand, you now need to go through the CU process again. So if your unit number is 106, you must remain as 106 according to your permit. And so again, I highly recommend taking a look at your permit, which you signed up for, to show exactly what it says, because it has a lot of pertinent information. Going to your compliance inspections. Off basis, exactly what the inspector is looking for. They're looking to see, can I even access the grease interceptor? Oftentimes, the inspector finds boxes, some type of tableware, or just a lot going on wherever the location of your grease trap is to where they cannot access it. And these devices have to be accessible at all times. Never know what's going on in the community. If we're doing a sweep, if we're doing a search and we're trying to, or do our due diligence of our annual inspection, they have to be accessible. So sampling, we sample facilities all the time. Can we even do that? Do you have one is another question, right? Are your fixtures connected? As Christian has outlined, all of the fixtures, hand sinks, wash sinks that discharge through our sanitary system has to go through the grease trap first. Does it match what you have outlined to us? Does it match what your permit says? Are you cleaning at your frequency? Every permit has an outlined frequency. It is not a suggestion, nor is it a recommendation. It is what you are required to and what you are being expected to do, pump out as. Are you reporting online? We have an online manifest to where you are supposed to report all of your pump outs each time they take place online. We keep track of it. The hauler is required to do so, and so are you as a facility. And ultimately, if you have a what we call a gravity system or like a concrete tank, the integrity of your tank, can your tank handle what you're producing? Is your tank being eaten away at the acidity level of your grease? Maybe we need to look at these types of things. So this is what the inspector is doing every time they come to your facility to check your grease interceptor. Now, some of our more frequent violations that we often see boil down to one, not reporting online. It is a requirement. Not cleaning at your frequency. I kind of alluded to it before, but I just really want to put the nail in again. It is not a suggestion. you have to pump out at your frequency, you at minimum. So if your pump out frequency is every 60 days, you can do your due diligence and pump out every 30. That is perfectly fine. But if your pump out frequency is every 60 days, but you decide I'm going to pump out every 90 days because this is what I feel like, that's not acceptable. The entire purpose of this program, and as we've tried to ensure through visuals and just through conversation, ensure that our environment matters. What happens underground matters. Protecting taxpayer dollar, the infrastructure of our Miami-Dade County matters. So the ball's in your court, but we also, our job is to ensure and enforce that that is being met at all times. So with that, and when you're not doing these things, you, as you can see in some of your pictures, you get overflows. You don't want to see that in your neighborhood. You don't want to turn around down the street and see this stuff, smell it. We all have to do our part. And with that is ensuring that you are abiding by the conditions of the permit. So with that comes outdoor washing. It sounds harmless, sounds like it's not that big a deal, but it actually is that big a deal. When you're mopping your floors or you're cleaning any type of, it's the end of the day, it's time to close up shop. I'm just going to go dump this outside. That's actually not permitted. You are not allowed to dump your water, whatever your cleaning materials, outside in any capacity. You have what is called a mop sink. Your mop sinks sometimes are located indoors or outdoors, but they are all supposed to be connected to the grease interceptor at all times. With that, you might think, hey, I have a drain. It's water's water, right? No. You are not allowed to do any type of outdoor washing, and also when it comes to the storm drain. The storm drain, the only thing that's supposed to enter the storm drain is rainwater. The purpose of that is just to, again, keep the infrastructure of Miami-Dade County at all times. So when it comes to it, blockages, how do we get there? We get there because of lack of maintenance. It's really ultimately what it boils down to. When it comes to the grease has a acidity level that can eat away at your grease interceptor. So these interceptors, the integrity of it can fail due to it just sitting there. It gets rock hard and it just eats and eats and eats and eats away at it. And at a certain point, you are now able to see the actual insides of your grease interceptor, the rebar, you're able to see exactly how it was made in the manufacturer. So to avoid that, right, you need to first, as you see outlined before, you will have to, if your grease interceptor does experience that, you'll have to do what we call repair breach tank, which comes from a temporary patch. And then ultimately you'll need to go through the plan viewer process to repair it. Replace it. So overflowing grease. I'm really big on visuals, just ensuring that everyone can see what we see. These are not AI photos. These are real photos taken out in the field that the inspectors see and what we're experiencing day to day. And again, this goes based on the practices that are happening in your business. So what's causing this? I don't produce that much grease. I thought someone else was going to do it. I forgot. Unfortunately, ignorance is not bliss in this line of work, because when it doesn't get taken care of, it now affects everyone else's life. Our inspector's job is, again, to make sure and ensure that you are abiding by the conditions on your permit. You have to maintain your grease interceptors, just like maintaining your home. If you don't take care of the roof, if you don't make sure your AC, the condenser is drained properly, what happens? Water starts leaking into your home. If you're not taking care of your roof, what starts happening? Cracks or rodents or whatever starts entering your home. The same thing applies for the grease interceptor. So these violations do hold some type of fine. So there are violations that you can obtain when you are notified of a said violation, but nothing is done. We are more than willing to work with the community. We are ambassadors for Miami-Dade County, but we also must maintain a level of responsibility. So we encourage and strongly encourage all facilities or maintenance or property owners to ensure that they are abiding by the permit. And another way you can help with this process is your employees. We understand the owner is not always on site. The managers, they come in at different hours. Our inspections are impromptu. We can schedule when necessary, but they're impromptu. And so how can we fix this? How can we ensure that the violations are not there, the fines are not there, ensuring that your employees know what they're doing? Know what when we come, what they're to look for, because oftentimes, oh, I don't know, let me find these receipts. I don't know when the last time it was. According to your permit, at least one staff member is supposed to be knowledgeable about where the grease trap is and what is happening, at least one employee. So as a business owner, as a property owner, if you're here to ensure that your facility or your property maintains its integrity, ensure that they know where your yellow grease container is. Pump out receipts. Where is the grease trap? Solid separators, what's going on? Make sure that they know not to wash outside. Make sure that they know not to dump anything outside. It's your job to ensure that they know how to do this. And so in doing that, we're all talking about money, how to save, and what the purpose is to do is save right now. The first thing you can do is to read your permit. I cannot stress that enough. Read your permit, because about 95% of the questions you might have is actually outlined on your permit, right? So clean at your frequency. Use a licensed hauler to clean your grease interceptor. Use a licensed hauler to clean your grease interceptor, because when it's time to report online, you then need to use either their company's name or their license number to report online. If you have an unlicensed hauler, now you're called, how can you report? Trying to get credit for the work that was done. You can't. So Miami-Dade County has an entire list of haulers. That list is updated frequently. Those who are permitted to use and pump out these grease traps in Miami-Dade County. Report online, you and the hauler. Again, no outdoor washing. If there is a spill, clean it up. Don't allow it to sit and manifest. Don't allow that grease, that yellow grease container. Oops, I made a oopsie. Oh, they'll figure it out. It's outside. It's not okay, because guess what happens? When the inspector comes, what do we see? A slip and slide outside. When it rains, what do we see? Greasy water coming down the pathway, entering a storm drain. That all affects us, because guess what? When grease hardens, it solidifies. It doesn't remain a liquid at all times. So making sure that you are properly disposing of your materials into the dumpster, not just letting that stuff sit outside in your back area, and training your employees. I just always like to leave you all with something that, unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get done. It's not. So I leave you all with the sentiment of putting the environment first, remembering not only you are a business owner, but you are a part of the community. We all have to drink from this water. We all have to live here. You guys do. I live in Broward, but you guys have to live here. But nonetheless, we are all part of a piece of the puzzle. Everything that you do, small business, major franchise, it does not matter. You all are a piece of the puzzle that we all have to live with and we all have to work with. So I do highly, strongly encourage you that this does provoke you to do good work into maintaining your facility, maintaining the process, and doing things the right way. So in terms of contact information, we've talked about it a lot today. Oopsie, I think I spit. You have questions regarding the FOG program when it comes to compliance. That is me and my colleagues here on this side. You can email us at fogcompliance@miamidade.gov. We get back to everyone relatively within 24 hours. My name is Vanessa Clayton. I'm one of the supervisors. My email is there as well, vanessa.clayton@miamidade.gov, as well as Erica Perez, erica.perez@miamidade.gov. And again, my manager, Ms. Laura Castillo. We're here to help, but we can't do all the work. As a community, we got to have some legwork happening as well. As we talked about the inspectors that you can see, this is a list of our current inspectors list. We pray and hope that it grows. But as of right now, we have our Michael Brew, a Tracy Nicolaes, a Lachlan Lloyd, Elvis Sistra, a Cinderella Castillo, and a Gabriel Orta. These are the inspectors who you can come see, who you can potentially see coming to your facility inspecting. Now, when it comes to our plan review for RER, you have, as you mentioned before, Ms. Veruska. She is our supervisor, the engineer supervisors, as well as the list of the engineers, Carlos Ancheta, Victor Cabrera, Gabriel Pan, John Garcia, and Rodolfo Esperanza, as well as the construction inspectors you can see. Cedric McQueen, Claudia Reyes, and a Randall, thank you, Mejia. As we continue, just with our contacts for permitting reasons. So Director, Mr. Christian Guerrero, and plan review questions. Environmental plan review at miami-dade.gov, permitting information. Now, very big. If you are just simply trying to change your mailing address, or you want to, for any reason, possibly renew online or anything like that, you can send an email to the environmental operating permits. But if you are trying to change your name, change your location, change anything about the actual infrastructure of your facility, you will have to go through the plan review process. The supervisor for there, you have Mario as well as Liliana. And as I said before, as you're trying to make any types of changes, again, only to like your mailing address and things like that, or the phone number that we have on file for you, that's a quick email. But again, anything other than that, plan review process. So I'll leave you for these questions.
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you to all of our panelists. We've reached the end of the presentation, but I just wanted to add something listening to Vanessa talk. I handle all of the external communications and outreach for RER, and I can't tell you over the years, I have handled dozens of media stories where I get sent a video from somebody's phone of an employee of a restaurant walking to the back, dumping a bunch of grease. Somebody caught it on video. And so now the business has a PR nightmare, right? Because they came to the county and the county's on the record saying, this is not allowed. They're in violation. We went out and now they have to pay us. What's the first violation cost? $500? $500, right? So it makes me think that there's also your external aspect to this, because then it goes viral on social media. People are trashing your business, right? Because it's all decontextualized, right? And it just made me think of that, listening to Vanessa, that even on my end, I'm not a technical expert. I do a different type of work, but I handle this all the time too. And even the haulers, we have seen videos of the haulers. They take their truck, they put the hose in a lake, and they dump everything in the lake. And then again, that ends up on the news, that ends up going viral. And so it's bad for business to engage in these practices. And that's, I think, another thing to think about. That being said, we are going to open up for questions and answers. As I had mentioned earlier, we are going to take the questions of the folks who are here in person first. If you are listening to us via Zoom and you have a question that you would like to ask live, go ahead and raise your hand. At the appropriate moment, I will take your question and someone here will answer you. But again, we also have the Q&A box open in Zoom, and you are welcome to ask your questions there. We do have staff available who is also answering as we go. So, are we ready? Who's got a question?
Good morning, Leslie Buell with the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency. In preparation for this meeting, I wrote my question down because I didn't want to screw it up. So here we go. Does the county offer any programs, funding opportunities, or technical assistance to help cities address older vacant commercial properties that were originally constructed without grease traps?
That's a good question. Who can answer it? Do we have anyone here who would know about that? These are, say it again, old properties.
Homestead is the second oldest.
Correct.
Do you have an answer from Mr. Manny Sid?
Oh, there we go.
So I'm the assistant director for the strategic procurement department, and we've curated an entire program for entrepreneurs around the county, from startup all the way up. So one of the programs that we do have that I mentioned earlier was the RISE Fund. So the RISE Fund is a public-private partnership with our credit union, which is the Dade County Federal Credit Union. It's a revolving fund. It's become a national model where we help entrepreneurs or even cities if they want to tap into that. But particularly entrepreneurs, where we give them up to $75,000 where they can install their grease trap, or they can refurbish their grease trap, or they can get new vehicles, whatever it may be. It's a loan. It's prime -1. So I think interest rates, whatever, at 6%, 6.5 today, or it'll be at 5.5, and it's simple interest, repayment terms in about 6 years. But aside from that, we do have technical assistance programs throughout Miami-Dade County. So we'll connect on that. And it's very robust. So we do it through our housing department, through CDBG, and we have various levels. So like we even have one that our SPED program that helps businesses that create jobs, particularly in low-income areas around the county and higher low-income folks who need that type of help, where we give them a $100,000 loan. And if they prove that they created those 3 permanent jobs, we actually forgive the loan. So it's a really, really great program. But aside from that, there are dozens of other programs on the TA side. But the RISE Fund is a great program. That's one that I manage directly for the county, and we can help out not only Homestead, but any other region of the county. Last year, we did about $10.4 million of investment in Miami-Dade County, 262 businesses that we helped out through that program. So I'll be more than happy to connect with you and walk you through all the other TA programs and assistance programs that we have.
Thank you, Manny. Any other questions here?
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I am from Town of Cutler Bay, Planning and Zoning Department. My question is, would you be able to send out the presentation
Okay, that one's for me. Yes.
information?
Yes. So what we'll do is make sure that you signed in and we have your email address, and then give me like a day or two. We'll save this presentation. It's a very large file, so I have to compress it. And I will send out an email to the group if you so choose, and you will have a copy of the presentation. It does have a lot of handy information, a lot of contact info. It does have clickable links to our portal to apply, so we're happy to share it. And then those of you who are participating by Zoom, when you registered, we got your email address, so we're going to send it to you as well. Right here.
Hi, thank you. I don't really have a question, more a comment. As one of our elected officials, I work really closely with our local businesses, and we were discussing training for these businesses. So if there's interest from our businesses in getting their employees trained properly or more efficiently, I think we would love to host another informal meeting. So if you guys have someone that would love to partner with us and provide these trainings, having grown up on Biscayne Bay, I know how important it is for us to take care of the grease and the environment and stuff. And I would really love to foster that for businesses, even in sister towns or whatever, to come in and get that training. So if that's something maybe we can work together in offering, I would appreciate that.
I'll speak for the group when I say yes. We absolutely will be happy to work with you on that. We can talk separately about it, and then we will identify who's the best staff. We will put something together for you, and yeah, we will go out. We will host a little, hands-on workshop and help with that.
I have a couple of questions for you guys. My name is Antonio Cristobal. I saw a lot of the businesses here in Miami, and I also represent a lot of the landlords. So I'm like right in the middle between you guys, the landlords, the business owners, and trying to balance everything out. The reviewers are amazing. They're always seeing me there, trying to solve problems, because there's a lot of things like the young lady said, that there's a lot of properties that don't even have grease traps. I'm about to sell a restaurant. It's been around for 47 years. I'm like, do you know where your grease trap is? He's like, I don't know what that is. I inherited it from my grandfather. I don't know what that is. The landlord doesn't know any better. He doesn't even have a certificate of use, to be honest with you, but he's been around since 47 years. So a lot of times they don't know. But with Carlos Hernandez, he was working on to getting the GDO permit for the landlords. I think that's something that would be really, really good if you guys could do that, because there's a lot of landlords that don't know, like there's no laws to being a landlord. Anybody could be a landlord. Sometimes you have people in New York, whatever. But if you have a GDO for the landlord and they can upkeep it, even if the business owner goes out, that was a very, very good idea of Carlos. I was actually in this parking lot talking to him about it because I was renting a restaurant here in Southland Mall, which I still want to rent and I can rent. But because they're going to tear down the mall or the food court, whatever, it's not cost effective to build a brand new grease trap. But maybe you could have like an exterior grease trap or something. I've seen that in the past, or like a temporary system, and I could put a restaurant there in 2 seconds. The little one that's in the corner of the food hall, I rented the Fritanga one. I've done a couple other deals there. But if there could be something else like that, we could get really like creative. I don't know where you guys stand on that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Christian, I don't know, is that you? If Carlos was working on something, Rashid, do we know? what that might have been? Yeah.
I'm going to stand up and talk just because I've been sitting for a while. That's a good point. Actually, there is currently, so in your situation, like Southline Mall, typically those kind of food court issues or food court operations have what we call a tank farm. A tank farm meaning that it's a system of tanks that
I'll go into one.
all go into one. So a food court is usually that situation. You've got different models of malls that have that scenario. So really it's a math problem. So when you're opening something in a kiosk, or let's not call it a kiosk, in a food court, all you're doing is what that load is for each one of those food service establishments. And then you know what that load of that tank farm system is. As long as this is less than what this can, you're good.
Calculations.
It's just correct.
But what about having the landlord have the GDO permit? So when a business goes out,
So that concept that you're talking about was something that I believe, and Gallo, I'm looking at you, I always mess this up. There's a GDO operator and a GDO generator.
yeah,
The generator and operator. So in the case of the food court, each one of the food service establishments would be the generator. The mall would be the operator.
but can we give them a GDO like he was planning to do?
So in that case, they do get a GDO operator. We never got that through
He was about to get through it. It's a what?
but it's
problem?
allowed by code. It's more of a management.
But it's a technical problem.
So yes, that was considered and we're able to do that by code in today's ordinance. You're able to do that. I think it's really more of a mechanics of how you issue it and how the interlinking. At one point, so this whole fog management was supposed to work kind of interlocking like Legos. In the case of, this is actually the best example of that. You've got a food service establishment in a food court, or all the food service establishments that connect to a tank farm or the management or the operator system. And then you've got the liquid waste haulers that Veruska, actually, well, everybody mentioned, Vanessa mentioned. They're all supposed to be interlinking because you are able to take that fog from cradle to grave, where it's produced, managed, hauled, and disposed of. There is a mechanics problem that in our permitting system right now, we have not done that, but I'm looking behind at the person that would be working on that. That is something that's contemplated, and it is something that we're going to be working on.
That would be really good. I have some landlords that what they do is they just upkeep the grease traps and then just pass back the bill to the person. But the person, and actually you guys on your GDO application, you guys have the landlord sign off.
Correct.
Why not just give them?
That's a good point. In fact, I think it was in Carlos's presentation, or maybe Veruska's, and when we were discussing a fog disclosure.
Yeah.
The fog disclosure form is meant exactly for that. In fact, that not only the GDO permit itself for operation, but for disclosures for landlords, right? When you are renting out your space to a tenant, and I'm going to point at you as if you were the tenant, they are disclosing to you that I've got X, Y, and Z fog system, and that it is in whatever condition, and they're disclosing that to you so that when you go and open your restaurant up, you're not caught last minute right when you're about to open to say, hey, your system's not working.
At that point, we included on all of our transactions because we saw a lot of these businesses. Like I told you, I represent a lot of landlords and the sellers, the buyers, and everybody on the point. But does that disclosure also include the sellers of the business to that point? Because that's the most important topic. The guy wants to sell, he wants to get out, and
that is the disclosures meant.
Be the most important one because that's the guy walking out with $100,000.
Correct.
That's the guy you should put on the hook.
We have
that is in New York that doesn't care. And
correct. You're right. The disclosure that we're talking about is at the time of rent. I believe there is current legislation.
If I'm not mistaken, it's for the landlord and the seller of the property because it also applies for septic tanks.
Correct. There is one for septic tanks today. There is a legislation happening as we speak. I believe it's gone to the Bermuda's legislation for the same disclosure, but for sales. I think what you're just saying is actually being legislated as we speak.
Seller of the business, and I'm not trying to add it or make it more complicated.
Yes. No, it's just a disclosure.
A lot of times the seller doesn't know, the buyer doesn't know, and then the disaster happens after. And where can we call? So a lot of the times it's more of a thing where just people don't know any better. And then I heard from what I've seen, I was born in Cuba, raised here, the law of the land, and I was telling this to JC Bermudez, he's an attorney, also a commercial realtor, that the law of the land is what I heard from this person, nobody looks at anything, whatever. You guys do a really good job that we could go visit you guys, and I love these in-person round table. After COVID, everything got weird and funky, so I'm glad you guys are doing this. But where can we call, or how can we call? Because there is anomalies where sometimes you're not even tied to the water sewer. It just happened to me here right in Palmetto Bay. There was a property that was not tied to the water and sewer system. It doesn't have a GDO. They don't have enforcement over it. But then right after its sale, it did trigger the whole GDO. It's like a whole complicated thing. Where could we contact? Because I hate having to bother them all the time just to find out, get more information, or who would be the person of the point of contact to bother you guys with weird questions like, hey, look, I don't know, what is this? They don't have a GDO permit. The GDO permit's expired. How can the seller renew it before they sell it to us?
So the contact list that I think Vanessa provided, and I think everybody's going to get a copy of the presentation itself. We specialize in weird questions, so both the DERM side and the RER side.
Verifications, it's just Miami-Dade, it's
Yeah.
Old City and Old County.
You could always contact us, but a major advantage is that all of our records are online, and I think somebody's presentation showed I think Carlos's presentation showed the link to the public records. So as long as you've got whether it's the address or the GDO number or folio, you go onto our online and you'll be able to find the entire history of that property. And one of the things that is unique about the manner in which we keep the records specifically for GDOs, if you hit that folio or that address or that GDO, you will get the complete history. Whether it changed restaurant ownership 50 times, you will have all 50 restaurants and you'll be able to go through it chronologically. Not that I'm saying that you want to do that, but if you don't know, yes.
I have the permit runners.
And then if you have questions, even after you have that, then obviously our team could definitely
who
handle that.
would be the person to contact for that?
I think for
Question,
everybody.
the question, yeah. Yeah.
So record, no issue, that's ball compliance at Miami-Dade.gov. But then when it gets a little bit on the more technical side, the engineering side, the plan review side, granted, we can assist and facilitate, but we have no jurisdiction over that. That will be handled over with the RER side. On the presentation about the emails about who does what, that would be best. So
I took some pictures of it. Thank you.
what question?
Yeah.
And you can get, it could be a phone call, it could be an email.
Yeah.
You actually have, I'm gonna make a pitch for Eddie's system of MeQ. There is a MeQ system that you could set up an appointment with either a supervisor, inspector, or plan reviewer, virtual, or in person or online.
Go in person and they're
Right, correct. And you can have those questions ready for them.
Another thing, and I don't know how you guys could roll it into, there's no way to look at a grease trap. Rule of thumb is if the water levels at a certain thing, it shouldn't be breached. But a lot of the times, it is corroded, it is in very bad standards. When you go to set a business, you don't check that. So as an industry standard, we've been trying to push that they always leave it clean for us prior to someone acquiring the restaurant so they can actually see what's going on. Even if they don't do, because remember, you're doing the conditional assessment after the person already purchased the business, is transferring the thing. It might already be too late. So we have them clean it so at least the hauler can see what they're seeing prior to doing the conditional assessment. So
correct.
if you could skip that step or just do it before, besides the disclosure, that would be really good.
Yeah.
People to see that.
No taken.
And I'll just say to your point, we are both, speaking for both departments, we are very customer service driven. That's actually been one of the improvements over the last decade in both when DERM was a part of RER and now as its own department. So it doesn't bother us, right? We are tasked, it is our responsibility that even if you send it to the wrong person, the mandate from on high is get it to the right person and get an answer to that question. That is the guiding philosophy for both departments. So it isn't a bother to us. And it's okay if you don't get the right contact immediately. It's frustrating, I know, when you don't get the right contact immediately. But just know that internally, the way that we operate is under that guidance, right? If it's not you, get it to the right person. So, and if all else fails, and you can go to our website, everything has a contact information and you can, try through that avenue too. But once you get this presentation, you'll have the direct contacts to the folks that you need. Any other questions?
Yes, I have two questions. One is the follow-up question. You talked about a grease trap farm for a food court, for example. Who has the GDO permit for that? Every single operator? So when you pump the grease traps of the farm, whatever, you need to report everyone. Okay, perfect.
Just for the benefit of those who are participating virtually, they're nodding their heads. Yes, there you go.
After I have a question for you. You talked during the inspection about a monitoring device. What are those? It's to monitor the percentage of grease and water in the grease trap?
Okay, could you please repeat your question?
During your presentation, you talked about monitoring devices.
Okay, this monitoring devices like the sampling
Yes,
port.
monitoring device.
Example, the sampling port.
It's through a sample port. Okay.
Let me have.
Hi.
Maybe you're referring to the sampling port or the electronic monitoring device. Okay, the monitoring
During the
device.
presentation, you mentioned monitoring device.
Okay, monitoring device is one of the requirements depending on the case of it's not required for every single facility.
What is it?
It is
It's a sample port or it's
it's an electronic device. Typically, it's an electronic device. They work by ultrasound or they work by floating inside the tanks, and they give you the amount of grease, the amount of solid, the amount of water. But it's not required for every single facility. There's specifics on that.
Yes, I'm going to call it and I'm not promoting any type of car, but it's a Cadillac version of a grease interceptor system. It's a real-time device that gives you 3 levels. It gives you the amount of, and this is where Gallo tells me whether I'm right or wrong, solids, settled solids, grease, and water on a real-time basis. And it's a sensor, and the reason that certain facilities use it, it can dictate when you need to clean your system. So if the system is designed, let's say every 60 days or every 30 days, but your device says otherwise, it says, no, you could actually go longer, which is where it becomes a little more cost effective, or it says, no, actually, you're going to need to do it sooner or else you're going to have an issue. Those are like...
Can you add those devices to an existing grease trap?
That would be up to the manufacturer of these systems, but typically I believe you can. I've seen them.
Yes, you can add it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're bubblers. They're essentially ultrasonic bubblers.
The name of a system like that?
A name of a specific
brand or something?
Google it. We can. I don't think that we can advertise for it, but if you Google it, you will find it. Yeah.
Rashid, let me add something that what you were saying. If you have, let's say that you have a set of plants approved with a 60 days pump out frequency, and you have an electronic device telling you, no, you can go 65, you cannot just do it like that because your condition of your permit says that you have to clean every 60 days. There are some conditions that you have to meet before changing the pump out frequency. You will need to revise plans again. You need to demonstrate that, okay, I can go to 90 days now because of this, because of this record that I have with my monitoring system. So you can never alter the frequency for the cleaning of your system as approved on the plans.
So what we've seen is people utilize these sensors. You don't need a permit to put it in, and then to gauge it to see what that looks like. And then if you see that there is a complete change of what your permitted clean out frequency is versus what the sensor is telling you, then you would come in for a modification to do that. And whether or not it needs I don't think it needs a construction, but it would be a GDO permit modification, right? You wouldn't need a construction?
Not from us.
No,
Maybe
you wouldn't.
Some other.
It would just be a GDO mod.
Yeah.
It still goes through the RER side, but you at least have data to back you up.
I wanted to thank you guys because as a restaurant business broker, the word GDO has cost me so much money. It's killed so many deals. But this meeting was really great because it gave me like the context of the implications of why we need that. And I didn't really understand that. To me, it was just like I was fighting with my seller outside. I lost a $250,000 deal. That poor lady took 3 years to open because of the GDO. hasn't kept it updated, doesn't understand, doesn't know. She owns med spas, she doesn't own restaurants. So, and now we have a $250,000 purchase on, and the guy has 4 restaurants in Paris and he wants to buy it here and he wants to open in downtown and Brickell, and because of this stuff that she doesn't understand, it's not moving forward and we're missing out on this great French restaurant opening in downtown. So the reason I say all of that is that our solution, I try to connect them with permit expediters to help them, but that creates even more of a barrier because then the permit expediter does the work for them and then they still don't understand what they should be doing or the stuff I just learned. Thank you for inviting me, Tony. So how do we get this to them? I want our restaurant operators to know what you got, the implications, the steps, how to avoid being closed for 3 years or 2 years or a year and a half, wasting your family savings trying to open a restaurant that then you never opened. How can we get this to them? Because I see it every day, and it's painful. I don't want to hear GDO. I get nightmares. So
I'll answer it from a 10,000 level view, and then if my colleagues want to jump in, they can. First of all, French is my favorite cuisine. We need to get this Parisian restaurant open ASAP, right? So we have, as you know, at the very beginning, if you caught the first slide, it said 28th FOG Roundtable. It's literally the 28th time we gather and do this, right? It's evolved over the years, right? I mean, I remember going to one in 2015 in Hialeah, right? And it was very different. But the point is that part of the mandate for FOG is to be out in the community talking to businesses or anyone related, right? In the whole industry. This is where my colleagues will correct me. I feel like between COVID and unfortunately Carlos's passing and just now the department split, these have become more on demand. I can think of the last 3 that we've done were at the invitation of a community. We did one with the Downtown Development Authority. So number 1, we can be invited. Right? If you have a group of businesses or you have an organization and you want something, and maybe it's not this grand, right? Maybe we reduce it to a couple of people depending on the needs, right? This was to serve an entire city and any related municipalities that are in the area that wanted to participate. So it looks a lot grander, right? But number 1, you can invite us, right? Number 2, I think internally we have to have conversations about reestablishing these on a regular basis. I believe that they used to be quarterly. I feel like they were quarterly, and they were thematic, right? In Hialeah or, for businesses that were affected by a well field, it just depended. But the point is, we're available, right? And so we want to be talking to people. We understand that being educated is the only way that we're going to fix this. And to the gentleman next to you's point, we are a city made up, it's a very transient place. We are made up of people who have migrated from other states, other cities, other countries, where the laws are different, where the views are different, right? And so we have to make a cross-cultural connection too. Now you're here. This is the geology on which we live, right? And these are the rules that we must all abide by. And so we understand that education is the starting point. So, I think for right now, until we reestablish some sort of pattern for these, by invitation is definitely a way to go. We typically do need a little bit of time, maybe a month and a half, just so that we can internally prepare and select who's going to do it and create some marketing materials. But it's doable. I mean, we're pros. This is like a traveling circus now. So we got it. But please, you have our contact information. If you want to talk to me afterward, I tend to be the coordinator. You can take my email address and we'll get the ball rolling. And frankly, we're so used to the businesses, right? The restaurants, food service establishments, but I understand the point, the folks in real estate. We've seen this in other things. We have other disclosures across the department that affect we have one for when you sell a house, FYI, when you sell a house in unincorporated Miami-Dade, you have to disclose if it has any violations, right? A lot of people don't know that, right? And so, we understand that for certain messages, we need to reach beyond the specific audience, right? So the more the merrier. that want to participate and want to understand. And just so we're clear, staff speaks Spanish as well, and we do have staff that speaks Haitian Creole. They might not be technical staff, but they'll work with us, right, to help with any translation, to help with any other accessibility issues. I mean, we understand that there are different needs in this community, and we are prepared to meet those needs.
Sorry, one last thing. I would do, because all you hear on social media is bad things about the county, bad things about DERM, whatever, and then you come and visit you guys, and you guys are really trying to help and get the businesses going. So if you guys could get on social media, there's some of these podcasts, I'll tell you later, to kind of just put in your take. And I know the mayor's been doing a good job with that. I know Eddie's fine with it, and see if you guys could, go out there and just explain to people. Before I came here, I wanted to message all the people I work with or whatever, and I couldn't get a hold of them, so I just sent them a message through Instagram. It was like the quickest way. I know they're gonna be there scrolling, so might as well. So social media, I think, is a really good thing. If you guys could put it out there, and then the ChatGPT or Google catches it and shows it to people when they search, so that's a good way to get to the masses or the audience.
Want me to hire you like as a contractor to do some social media consulting? Thank you. No, that's actually a great point. Both departments do have social media accounts. And I think after this, we are going to be posting some of the video from today. But it is a great point. I feel the pain of getting trashed on social media. Yeah, we are always looking for ways in which, how do we, number one, expand our audience, right? And number two, create this sort of content. And so I'll take that feedback back, from my staff too, to think about how do we present this in a way that really speaks to the folks who are directly affected by it, in a way that really speaks to them, right? And it isn't maybe a little bit too removed or a little bit unclear. So thank you.
We have one more question.
Thank you, everyone. Ralph Casals, Town Manager, Cutler Bay. I think it's important for us, some great questions there, because as Town Manager, I know two realities, right? As the gentleman said, we know that South of the Mall, that whole food court, guys, that's going to be gone. When I say gone, maybe 6-7 months from now. Right. So right now, my staff is working diligently to try to find homes for some of these small restaurants. We don't have to do that, but that's how we roll in Cutler Bay. Right. So I think it's important for us, like you said, the traveling roadshow circus. I think it's important, and I'll take on the challenge. I could help with the Miami-Dade City Mayor Association. Ed Rojas knows I was past president twice, or the League of Cities, because I think if town staff understands it, we're your advocates. Because right now I'm telling my staff, go find a home for Cajillos. Well, there's a mattress giant there, but they don't have a grease trap. I'm like, okay, now what's that mean? So we don't know the questions, right? So I think if there's a playbook that we could add, we could be those advocates, because right now we're trying to help. Or when my council says, we don't want more development, we want quality restaurants. Flanagan's right here. Flanagan's in the house, right? So we post about Flanagan's, and the mayor gets and talk about social media, right? We got 580,000 views on Flanagan's, right? Guys, I'm building a $50 million city hall next door. But Flanagan's 580,000 views. So we understand it. So I think it's important for us that where we can help, right? It's easier said than done. Like you said, government gets that negative, negative press, right? But we could help as well, because we could help recruit and understand the process. So maybe there is somebody there like, hey, we know that this is coming here. This storm, right? Previous hurricane season, this storm's coming in South of the Mall. How can we help each other to help folks kind of situate them in other locations there? Because that's where we can help each other.
Am I hearing you say that it would be helpful for you if the county provided like some points, like to-dos, or like make sure you discuss? No, I'm asking for real, because then we're going to do it.
It's a good cheat sheet.
Right, like a cheat sheet.
Right. So that way I don't have to. I'd love to see the circus again, but we don't have to invite the circus again, right?
Yeah.
So I could kind of maybe figure out how to do my own little circus, with my staff. So I think it's a good cheat sheet there. Rashid, you remember when we did this with the illicit discharge and NPDS, when the county was doing the traveling circus about teaching everybody about illicit discharge and the NPDS permit. Man, we did it. That was a great job. But there's something we could hand out, like you said, because if not, then people are just making it up. I was just mentioning that when you mentioned runners, I was talking to Councilman Lord. These folks are just creating more jobs for runners that may not understand it. So let us understand.
Yeah, we see that.
We can sit there and say, now you have that one consistent message. If it's in Hialeah, Sunny Isles, or in Cutler Bay, here's the playbook.
Yeah.
And then that, I think, will be great time invested, because that way we understand it as well.
So I like this, and I think that I'm thinking on my feet here, but I think that the simplest way to do it, right, so that it's not this bogged down bureaucratic process, and we will handle this, but really a lot of this is in the presentation. It's just a very long technical presentation.
Right.
So part of my job is to take the language of RER and put it in plain English, right? And so we can strip this down to 3 slides, right? That is just, what is it? Why do you need it? How do you do it right? And then we can make that available to you. So that's a to-do for me. You're still going to get the full presentation, but internally, right, between us, the follow-up will be a simpler version of this that, you are allowed to just take it and run with it.
I mean, you had me at FOG. I knew that. But once you got to the GDO, I'm like, what? And I've been in this business 40 years. I'm like, what GDO?
It's so many acronyms in the county.
We understand, but I think that's where we could help as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Help, and I could help facilitate with meetings with the League of Cities or the Miami-Dade City Mayor's Association. We could have that where we could kind of show that around. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, one thing too, that you just reminded me that we can also do something that's far more specialized. I just remembered an example from downtown, which was they wanted to hear specifically about the sidewalk cafes and like a particular issue that affected sidewalk cafes. And so we did like a clinic that just focused on that. So think about that too, right? Because if you have a problem that's just really specific to your community or to a particular, like that you work across the county, right? So you know of something going on some other part that everybody has the same issue.
This is that you guys have the parent side, because let's say you approve it, I have $1 million. You're gonna build the nicest restaurant on Bird Road. But what about if you're not connected to water and sewer? You can't have the capacity, the lines are dated, so then water and sewer gets.
Right.
It becomes a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can do something that's tailored to the specific question or issue that a lot of people need to hear about. But I got my homework. You are going to get a simpler version that you can take it and run with it. Any other questions before I open it up? We have questions online that I actually, they wrote it in the Q&A, but they need to be answered live. So these are going to come to you guys if we're done here. Yes? Okay, thank you. All right, so can I get the number, who's going to answer which one, the thing that Ariane showed me? Okay, I'm going to ask the question. This is a very interesting one, okay? So does DERM, and maybe it's RER, but maybe it's DERM, have any vendor programs or approved contractor lists for residential fog diversion, specifically for UCO collection from households, not just commercial grease traps? Or would DERM be interested in partnering with validating a pilot program that tracks residential UCO diversion and its measurable impact on sewer contamination rates? So the question is really about residential and what we have or could have.
I'll get up. That's a very good question. In short, no. Just so you know, the code with respect to residential infrastructure is, what would you call it, Christian? Silent? Does not regulate residential. As long as you're a residential and truly a residential, obviously use, you are not regulated by the code. So technically you're not in the, included in the FOG ordinance, which obviously was born out of the consent decree. But saying that, and I think Manny's heard me say this, that if in a business, if as a business model, if FOG becomes a commodity, that's only a good thing because obviously you keep it out of the sewer system itself. I have not heard of any companies that are piloting or utilizing a grease pickup. I can't think of a way that you would do that if you do not install some sort of trap or a device in your home, which obviously would require a construction permit of some sort. But no, we have not heard of that. We have not seen that. I think it may be analogous to the yellow grease market. For those of you that are in the restaurant business, I think you know that yellow grease is a commodity, and after it's used, you have companies out there that collect the grease, render it, reuse it, sell it back. There's obviously a reuse and a recycling factor that's obviously advantageous, not only as a business model, but for environmental purposes. But we have not heard, I mean, I'm looking at the dais if anybody has seen anybody, any kind of businesses for residential, but I don't think so. As for partnering, obviously we're, Manny, I'm always going to look at you when it's partnering in business. I mean, we'd be interested in seeing what that looks like. But at the end of the day, is that wherever this grease goes to, if it's residential, it just needs to go to a permitted facility in which, obviously that they process it or do some kind of, it's obviously in an industrial type of process, just needs to be permit. It's actually outside of the FOG program, and it's a different type of operating permit. So, yeah.
I will throw out to the person who asked this question online that traditionally residential fog is addressed by the Water and Sewer Department. Like they have their own campaigns about that. Can the Grease, you might be familiar with that. We piggyback on that campaign during the holidays as well. So I'm just throwing out there that maybe Water and Sewer is a potential contact for you to reach out to with these questions or this idea, because they might be able to help you. And the Department of Solid Waste Management as well. Thank you. Okay, the next question, it's going to be in 3 parts. Manny, please prepare, because I think it's for you too. It's Rashid and Manny, get ready. I'm going to take it in chunks. All right, so the first part, Rashid, are there any consent decree compliance obligations tied to fog reduction that would incentivize the county to fund community-based diversion programs? Start with that. You can read it on the screen if you want to.
I'm not wearing my glasses.
Here.
Even though I've got them here. It's just laziness. No, it's vanity and laziness. So obviously the whole purpose of the FOG program is, was born through the consent decree. I'm going to just say every cubic, whatever, every piece of fog out of the sewer system is obviously a good thing. Let me take a couple steps back. So when the FOG ordinance was created or published, there was a FOG study conducted. And in that FOG study, there were many components in which you had inputs. One of the main inputs were the utilities. And earlier I mentioned to you 16 utilities in Miami-Dade County, one being water and sewer, which is obviously the biggest one, but 15 other utilities. I could tell you that every utility was spending millions of dollars in maintenance of their system. In fact, it was no big secret that water and sewer, being the one that was spending the most, it was such a big draw that they had two or three specialized fog crews that all they did was travel the county, and all they did was tackle hotspots, meaning that there was a pipe burst and they would have to clean it out. The same was true for City of Miami Beach. All the sites in which you had major restaurants were paying high costs for maintenance. In saying that, is there an incentive in keeping the fog out of the system? Absolutely. Is there a cost savings to the utilities? Absolutely. Is there currently a program in which you are subsidizing those savings and maybe redirecting those savings to, other purposes, whether it's collecting or commoditizing the fog or helping restaurants? Currently, I don't think so, other than what Manny mentioned. But I don't think there are any programs that I know of that subsidize or can pay back, at least on business owners, because at the end of the day, it was shown on an economic analysis that for businesses to comply with the fog ordinance, not only did it make sense for the utilities, it actually was better business sense for the restaurants themselves. And that was the other part of the input to that fog study, was that how many days of closures were businesses looking at because of mismanagement of fog. And I think we've ran into many businesses in which, listen, I walk into a restaurant, the second I slip and slide, I know there's a problem. So, I'm the family that goes, we'll get our burgers and then we take a walk on the back. so I know exactly what's going on. And my kids know this and hate it, but there was a cost analysis that showed that managing the fog the right way actually made not only better business sense for maintenance purposes for the sewer to the water and sewer departments, but also for the businesses themselves because of lost revenue. Manny, I don't know the second part. Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask it out loud for the benefit of everybody. Does the RISE loan program apply to environmental services businesses in the fog space? And is there a next application window? Press the mute button until the green light comes on.
You're definitely eligible as long as you have 2 years of business, an active BTR in Miami-Dade County for 2 years, and at least a 620 credit score. You are eligible. And then the great thing about the program, the idea is for it to last forever. So it's a revolving fund. So as businesses pay it back, it becomes available for other businesses. So we already have some businesses that are in their third round, that they loved it so much that they're working on the third round. And what's really great is with this program, we open up a Dade County Federal Credit Union bank account for these businesses. So you become a shareholder, right, of the credit union. But we also have opened up other lines of business like commercial vehicle loans, commercial credit cards. So the potpourri of options has really expanded. But what's great about it, it's a program that's revolving and it's meant to be sustainable forever in Miami-Dade County. So if you send me an email to manny.sid, M-A-N-N-Y, .cid at miamidade.gov, I'll get you with the application team, and we'll sometimes, if you have all your paperwork, your balance sheets, your P&Ls in order, I mean, we've closed some of these loans in less than a week and a half, 2 weeks.
That's great. Thank you so much. And then the third part of the question, Rashid, I believe this is going to be for you again. For restaurants and food service businesses that are out of compliance, are there any diversion or remediation programs the county recommends or endorses as an alternative to fines? Jail.
Yeah. So Vanessa came out hard, and I saw her go past that fines slide real quick. Let me tell you. So with the fog compliance program back at DERM, there is a change in enforcement. Let's just call it with respect to our enforcement model. That's not to say that that fines aren't a thing anymore. It's just that we're going to reserve UCVNs and tickets really for egregious violations. So it's not like for any paper, I'm going to call them paper infractions. But that doesn't mean that if we see something that's very egregious that there not be a ticket issued. In saying that, the only really what we're moving towards is something of a compliance assistance as a part of our routine is more compliance assistance, because we know that if there is a scenario, which is a very high probability, especially if you're a older facility and you need to come into compliance, that's not cheap. And we gain nothing by giving you a $500 ticket on top of that, when I know that your problem is going to be a 50,000 plus issue, right? So we're not looking to make money based on fines. Now, for the question with respect to facilities that are not in compliance and need to have some kind of corrective action or remediation, in which they have to bring their system to essentially to code, really the only options that we have, because of the consent decree, we're not able to provide you guidance to get a variance or an extension of time through a third party, what we call our environmental quality control board, because that is actually was not allowed through the consent decree. But we do have, I'm going to call them enforcement mechanisms, in which we would give you more time to get to compliance. They come in a form of what we call a consent agreement. So it's essentially an agreement between the facility and the county that you agree to comply with, and it'll be an alternative timeframe. Again, moving away from the fines just to, add to your financial woes, that not only do you need to upgrade your system and come into compliance, but now you got to pay the big bad county thousands and thousands of dollars because we're not really looking into that. So that is an alternative and another way of reaching to compliance. Those consent agreements can be anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, potentially an addendum for another 6 or 12 months. But we would have to look at that at a case-by-case basis. We would need to see a corrective action plan and what that looks like for you to come to compliance. What do you need to do? And obviously working together with our sister department, we would figure out that, yes, this timeline works. So I think, aside from a consent agreement, I don't know that we have any other tools. And as for fog diversion, I think that was a part of the question as well. That could be part of the actual corrective action, but again, we would have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. We are just about at the time designated to end the workshop, so I'll do one last call for any questions, and if not, we're gonna wrap it up.
See people that have multiple restaurants, they don't have $40,000 saved up in their accounts. From other countries, if people in Cuba, they never owned a business at the time. So we're learning as we go. Even people that own companies of shops, whatever. But what you could do is sometimes you could get a third party to back the contractors, and you can ask them, and they can finance the job to build these grease traps. Because what's happening a lot of the times is, and this is on, like, let's say on a state level, I have a takeout restaurant and I want to get beer and wine. Now you guys are aware that they lowered the capacity to get a liquor license. Zoning wants to give it to you, DERM wants to give it to you, but it's going to cost you. You have to go through the grease trap process or whatever. There's a way to finance it, and then you leverage that. Sometimes you could do it even through the contractors if they're approved. Think of if you go to Best Buy and you go through Synchrony to get a refrigerator sometimes that's also allowed for. So let's say they can't get the Strive program, and maybe that's something they could work on with these approved contractors or whatever, with the plumbers. They could also finance it backed by those companies. I've seen that happen with several contractors.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that's something for us to kind of maybe consider and look at it, maybe for Manny to, do you have something to say, Manny?
Yeah, and aside from RISE, part of our small business ecosystem is a very strong network of CDFIs. So for example, RISE isn't for startups, but our partners at the Miami Bayside Foundation do up to $250,000 for startups, and it's a very competitive rate, about 5%. Then we have other partners that'll do the business plan for free, the marketing plan for free, and then through the SBDC network, we'll assign a consultant at no cost as well to help the business scale. So it's a really powerful ecosystem. And I will give a plug to RER because they have a small business permitting team that's amazing. And the last year I've sent them about 100 businesses, and they literally help folks through the application process and hold their hand. And that is an amazing, amazing group. So
from start to finish, before you even rent a spot, that's the important part. Before you even sign an agreement, you can come see the team and they will tell you what is the allowed use, what can you do. Oh no, we've had examples in the past where the business is here, I-95 is here, the connection is here. And I was gonna be a hair salon. So how do I connect, right? You don't even think a realtor is not thinking of that, right? So thank you for plugging the program. That's chat@miamidade.gov. It's free, not the permitting application, but meeting, not the process, but meeting with the staff. Like this is a great starting point, right? We also help correct violations. If there's a violation and you need to know, how do I even begin to tackle this? This staff is dedicated to helping you and holding your hand throughout the entire process. Back to you.
100%. And before anybody signs a lease, if you don't have the funds, our partners at Legal Services of Miami will review your lease, give you all the talking points, make sure that everything is in line, because that's one of the mistakes that happens. Our entrepreneurs get so excited that they sign leases without knowing that the use is permittable or if there's enough parking or zone, So that's something that we help our entrepreneurs through. So a lot of people don't have access to great attorneys, and we'll do it for free through Legal Services of Miami as well.
Thank you. And just one more commercial plug. It's great because we're this very same room on next Monday. we're hosting a meeting for small business and Appreciation Small Business Month. TD Bank is going to be here. So we made sure that the corporate folks from TD Bank are going to be here to talk about small business loans. And also, I know we talked about restaurants and restaurant brokers. We're also going to have Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Department here, how to sign up to be part of their real-time crime center. So basically, I mean, I went to go visit their location, and they were just saying, hey, you want to see the fall shopping center? Here it is. Here's Bed Bath Beyond. And you can see they tie into the camera. So another security feature. So again, that's another free workshop that we're offering here, commercial plug. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Residential or?
No, small business too. It's residents and small businesses. We have like a concierge program that tends to apply to like major, like Baptist Hospital has gone through concierge. So larger corporations might opt for that, but for small businesses, and concierge costs money. Chat is free. Yeah, small businesses.
You see, what's that?
CHAT. Yeah, like to chat with you at miamidade.gov. It's called the Homeowners and Small Business Permitting Assistance Program. We love our long titles in RER. So folks, before we wrap it up, one quick thing for virtual participants. When the workshop ends, you're going to get a survey pop up on your screen. We really, really would love your feedback. We're always looking for ways to improve. What was your experience like? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? For those of you here in person, the survey is at the table in the back. Please pick up a copy. Please take a quick, it's like 4 questions. Please answer them and leave it there for us to review. We'll really appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Your glasses. Thank you.
Great job.